Welcome to the Neurosurgeon's Journey, part of the library of Brain and Spine Group's Medical Student Neurosurgery Training Center and a collaboration with the AANS's Young Neurosurgeons Committee. I'm your co-host, Michael Kortz. I'm currently the Senior Student Director of Education Resources for MSNTC, and shortly we'll be joined by your other co-host, Dr. Jeremiah Johnson. He is an Assistant Professor of Neurosurgery at the Baylor College of Medicine and is the current chair of the YNC. We're happy to have you with us as we look deeper into the rewarding life of a neurosurgeon and explore what it takes to get there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Neurosurgeon's Journey podcast, a collaboration between the Medical Student Neurosurgery Training Center and the AANS's Young Neurosurgeons Committee. This is your co-host, Michael Kortz. I'm a medical student and the Director of Educational Resources for the Neurosurgery Training Center. I'm alongside your other co-host, Dr. Jeremiah Johnson, an assistant professor of neurosurgery at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas, and the chair of the Young Neurosurgeons Committee. Dr. Johnson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here, Michael. Thanks.
I'm excited. This has been a long time coming, and I'm pumped to get this on the road here. It's also interesting because we're recording for the first time in the morning, and I'm actually really liking. It's a good day start to the day and to the week. So hopefully we can maybe coordinate this in the future.
I'm sure we'll have some at night and in the morning, and
we'll people will probably be able to tell too. I'm sure.
If we sound like we're falling asleep, then you'll know what.
If there's just this long lull for like 2 hours in the middle. Yeah. How was your weekend?
It was good. It's good.
Yeah.
Been busy. How about you?
Yeah, same. It was so if I do sound tired, that's why. It was a long weekend doing a lot of research stuff. So this is kind of our introductory meeting to the podcast. We're really excited about the prospects for this project. It is pretty cool how this all came together, and I'm sure we'll talk about this here shortly. But there's a lot to talk about in the realm of neurosurgery. Although it's a small specialty, there's a lot of components to it, both humanitarian, scientific, technological, international, right? There's so many different components. So I think we got a lot of meat on the bones that we can pull from. So really what today's about is just kind of giving everyone the vision for the podcast and giving them the opportunity to jump on board with us. So kind of to start, what was your vision for, I know as being in the YNC, chairing that, you have a big, you have a hand in education and you're passionate about inspiring people to get involved in neurosurgery. But what was what's your kind of vision for this podcast and what are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah. So I think from my perspective, I just think it's important for everyone to stop and communicate what they've learned over time. And so, you're a medical student interested in neurosurgery. I've certainly, I see so many people that are medical students interested in neurosurgery, and it is very confusing. It's a very confusing time in the sense that you have a lot of information you need to compile very quickly if you want to try and aim yourself towards neurosurgery as a field of study. And even beyond that, even at my stage, you're continually accumulating knowledge and information about how to go about reaching the next steps. It's an extremely informal process to sort of move forward in your career. It's much less, there certainly are certain goals and milestones you have to reach, and there's things you have to do to get there. But even beyond that, even moving from assistant professor to associate professor and all these types of things, I mean, it's just all the way along this pathway to kind of where you want to get it in everyone's career, maybe a little different, but where you want to get in your career. It's just a lot of knowledge that's very informal and passed down person to person. And maybe this podcast in many ways for different people can help demystify some of that. I think it would be great. There's certainly some basic information we can cover about, what you need to do if you want to consider going into neurosurgery. And then there's a lot of really just interesting things like what do neurosurgeons do? What are the pluses and minuses of the field? And then all these other interesting things you talk about. There's just like a wide breadth of of content we could cover that would be potentially interesting to someone.
Yeah, you said a word there that I think is really important. I want to highlight is demystify. A lot of people, I think, certainly lay people, and then people who haven't either just started med school or before that, but they're interested in the idea of neurosurgery. They have a theatrical, dramatic concept of what it is, obviously from TV, and that's Grey's Anatomy and Scrubs or whatever, their show of choices. And I think once, and I would love to poll like med students, residents and undergrads or whatever, and just see how many of them who knew what specialty they wanted to go into, how many of them before med school was interested in neurosurgery as the reason that they even went to med school in the first place. And I would say that that's, if not the most, one of the most frequent specialties that people cite as the reason that they want to go to med school. I mean, that's what I would assume. I just think there's so much mystery behind it still, just in the brain and the nervous system. I think there's a lot of mystery there. And I think a lot of people, they get disillusioned a little bit about what it's really like. And then once they get to med school, that's exacerbated just by how daunting it is to really get there. Mm-hmm. And so either people just give up or they forget what they were interested in the first place. And I think demystifying that, like you said, is really, really powerful. And we hope to do that in several ways, right? We've brainstormed the best way to do that. And whether it's raw information, what does it truly take to get there? Trying to give people different perspectives on people within the field, and just listening to the stories, listening to what people are passionate about. I think being able to visualize yourself in someone else's shoes, or, maybe it's hard to in a podcast, but, really think about what would it take for me to get there? And oh, this person is passionate about the same things, why can't I be there? I think that's really powerful. And so hopefully we can inspire people to continue on their dream, and maybe inspire people who never even thought about neurosurgery as a potential career, and then give them the tools to realize it,
Agree. I would interject that even a lot of these themes and lessons are true no matter your specialty going, probably.
Totally.
So even beyond just neurosurgery, I think it could be helpful for people.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And so, to that end, some of the stuff we're going to be looking at are, and some of it'll be more relatable to certain people and at different times in their journey, whether it's medical students, right? That the journey aspect is obviously encompasses a lot of different parts of the journey, or in the parts of the neurosurgical career, right? So whether it's medical students or resident, or where you're at as a young attending, or you've been in practice for 30 years, hopefully we'll have something for everyone, lessons learned. And I think that's one reason I think neurosurgery is so enticing, is because it is a lifelong journey for learning. It truly is something that you're going to continue to learn until the day you get out, until the day you die, really, and so, we'll be looking at what it takes from an application standpoint for med students, how to do well in your rotations, listening to people's perspectives and what they're passionate about. Like I said, getting into what it really is like as a neurosurgeon, whether it's, endovascular or functional, skull-based, whatever, academic versus community. There's so many things that we can get into. And so hopefully all you listening out there are as excited as Dr. Johnson and I, and we'll get started with this thing, and hopefully it will inspire you as well. So do you have anything else to add, Dr. Johnson?
No, I think that sounds right. And I think in also just in examining the pathway all the way from medical student to attending,
right,
from junior to senior attending, which there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things in the different stages, what people can learn from depending on where they are, and I think it'll be a really good overview of things. Yeah,
no, and I'm excited about the opportunity for the Neurosurgery Training Center and the YNC to collaborate. And part of, just to end this, I think what's powerful about this is that we both kind of had the same idea, but separately. And then we came together and it was kind of a natural fit. We both were interested in making the neurosurgical pathway, the journey, more accessible. In a literal sense, I think podcasts are probably the most easily accessible way to consume information, but also just in a more high-minded sense. I think we're both passionate about education, and so it was cool that we both kind of came to that conclusion on our own, and we've kind of come together. And the collaboration between the Neurosurgery Training Center and the YNC, I think, is one that will be very fruitful, and other endeavors, certainly with your webinar series that's coming up here soon as well for the YNC, that will be something that people can get excited about. And hopefully 5, 10, 20 years from now, there'll be even more things that people will be able to access to understand what neurosurgery is all about, both in content, education, journey, et cetera. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to get this thing off the ground. Well, I hope everyone has a good day. We'll be back shortly with our next episode. See ya.
Thank you.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, follow, and leave a comment in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your audio content. Make sure to follow MSNTC and the YNC on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and check out our webpage at neurosurgerytraining.org/TNJ, where you can find other episodes and links and resources related to today's conversation. Be sure to check out the YNC's webinar series and visit their webpage on AANS.org. If you have comments or ideas for episodes, or would like to join us to talk about anything neurosurgery related, our email address is tnjpodcast@neurosurgerytraining.org. We'd love to hear from you. Finally, I'd like to thank Matt Rosenthal, one of our fantastic MSNTC volunteers, for helping with the editing and processing, and also thank all the fabulous people involved in this project. Have a great day, and we look forward to next time.
Hey everyone, Ryan Rad here from neurosurgerytraining.org. If you like that video, subscribe and donate to keep our content available for medical students across the world.